We're now on video number 4, and we're getting to some really interesting stuff now because we've talked about our vowels, we've talked about syllables, we've talked about rhythm, but there's something I've carefully managed to avoid so far, but is actually very common in the Spanish language, and that is what happens when two vowels come together, one after another. And if you think about anywhere, if you pick up a text and look at most Spanish words, many of them have a combination of vowels. There's a couple of things that we need to understand about this, and at the moment we're going to tackle one particular point, and that is to do with the combination of strong and weak vowels, or another way of describing them is open or closed vowels. So we have to think back to our video number 1 when we learnt our 5 basic vowels: a, e, o, u. And I also actually mentioned then, when I referred to the e and the u, that they are narrower sounds than the other two. And in fact, for the purposes of this particular explanation, we need to understand the 5 vowels in this way. The a, the e, and the o are strong or open vowels. And the u and e they're not weak in the sense that they are weaker sounds, but they are narrower vowels. They're smaller vowels, if you like, or weaker or more closed. Doesn't really matter the terminology as long as we understand the idea. Now then, many Spanish words combine a strong vowel with a weak vowel. And the important thing to learn about this is that this combination of strong and weak forms one beat or one syllable. And that is vital to our understanding, because we won't know where the rhythm goes on what syllable if we're not clear about what forms a syllable. This is the kind of missing link that I didn't tell you before. So I've done it a little bit mathematically, it looks a bit like algebra here. But these combinations of strong and weak, they have a name, they're called diphthongs. And here are all the possible combinations. For example, if we put an a together with an e, I've got here a plus e, it makes the sound I. Now that sound I contains a, e. Both sounds are contained, but it sounds like a combination of a single. It's not a, e, it's I. But the stronger sound of the two is the a, I. An example of a word with this in is paisaje, which means landscape. I won't keep going on about the rhythm beats, but just so that we're clear, the beat is on the last but one syllable, the saje part, a, and so it becomes paisaje, but it's a 3-syllable word. It's not paisaje, it's paisaje, and you've got this single combined sound. Okay, so the e and the e together make a, yeah, a with the e as the stronger sound. Here's a very common word that people muddle up, and that is the word for oil, which is aceite. In this case, the last but one syllable, where the beat goes, is the a sound, and the stronger of the two vowels is the e. That gives us aceite, a commonly confused sound. Okay, o and e together, oi. And this is a word a lot of English people don't like, but it's an okay word. It means hear me, and it is oiga. Not oiga, but oiga, with that combined. It's a 2-syllable word with the combined sound. Okay, now we're going to turn that the other way around, because it works in the other direction. If we put the e and the a together, it gives us ia. And a good example of this is the word for chemist, farmacia. The last syllable is ia. The beat goes on the last but one syllable, farmacia. And there's loads and loads of words like that. Ye. An example is the number 7, siete. The beat on the strong e, siete, 2-syllable word. And then we've got yo. And there are many words in Spanish that end in the yo sound. We've got the word here, unión. This is, when we talk about rhythm, there's an accent on the o. It's very common to have words ending in thion or ion, with an accent on the ending, throwing the beat onto the ending, but it's still a two-syllable word, union. That's with the E. Now we go to the combinations with U, and exactly the same thing happens. We've got a, u, giving us ow. Here's an example, autobus. Accent on the ending, because it ends in an S, so therefore to throw the accent there we have to draw the accent mark, autobus. A lot of English people dislike that ow sound. They kind of go autobus or something like that. But the ow is, if you hurt yourself, you say ow, so it's not a difficult sound. Autobus. Eu. Now that is a more unusual sound for English speakers. Eu. 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 It's typical for the English when they read to think that the U is the more important sound, but actually the strong sound is the eu. Common word, euro. Euro. That's why when you hear people say euro, we call it the euro, we're hearing the sound strongly. And then the o. I couldn't find, in fact it took me a long time to find an example of this. It's not a common combination. And here's a horribly long word which you won't like. It's estadounidense, and it means somebody from the United States of America. Estadounidense, but it's a good example for us because it's got the